Welcome to Talk Flicks with the Boss Chicks. I'm your host, Crystal, and today we are going to be analyzing the movie Soul. Starring Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. This is a movie directed by Pete Docter and Kemp Powers as co-director, and it is an animated film by Disney and Pixar about a musician who has lost his passion for music and is transported out of his body and must find his way back with the help of an infant soul learning about herself. This film is one of the first Black animated films. And this was something that I was like when I heard this, I was like, no, this can't be the first one. This can't be the first one. I just kept racking my brain, like, okay, it has to be something. And no, this is the first Black animated film, which is crazy to me. Like, I literally was in disbelief as I was trying to scour the internet to find the real first Black animated film because it just seems ridiculous. It seems completely ridiculous. Like after we had films like Coco, I was like, surely we've had a Black animated film even before Coco. That's what I'm thinking. Like, this cannot be real. But this is it. So congratulations. Make sure y'all support the film just because. I mean, this is one of the first Black animated films, which again, I just still feel like when I say it, it's not correct, but it is what it is. So this film, as I was watching, it was very engaging right at the beginning, particularly to me because it started off with a struggling teacher, which being a teacher, I just always empathize with that struggle of trying to get these kids to realize that what they're learning is something bigger than what they're initially thinking that it is. Music is something that's very important, and it always kind of surprised me when people did not like music class, because it's like, even though you may struggle with the instrument, just the whole world of music, everyone likes music, whether it's country music, R&B music, rock music, whatever. Like, you like music, all of us do. And so I'm always just kind of perplexed by that. But a lot of times that comes from having a teacher that doesn't know how to relate that music to what the students already know and love. And that's something that actually ends up happening in the first scene where he's telling them about when he fell in love with music. And one of the students really gets into playing this song, and I mean, she just starts going off the sheet music where she's just feeling it, she's in the zone. And that's something, a theme that kind of comes back, that is kind of integral to the actual plot. So this is a teacher, a music teacher, who really, his true ambition and goal is to play with basically to be on tour, doing gigs, playing for audiences. It's not necessarily to teach, but to actually perform. And a lot of teachers find themselves in that realm where it's like they're teaching a subject, but really they want to be more engaged in the performance of whatever that subject is. Even as someone who teaches filmmaking, like, I oftentimes drag my students into the actual performance of making film, because number one, there's no other way to teach it in that particular regard. But you just have so much passion for actually doing that, you want to just be in there in the mix of creation. And so his parents are all against this because his father was a musician, a struggling musician, as we always like to say, starving musician, whatever. And she's all about him, you know being a teacher. This is a steady job, a steady paycheck, that's secure, and he just gets hired on full time. So most people are like, yes, a full-time job, that's great, especially nowadays. But when you're a teacher, sometimes that full-time offer kind of like takes you into this kind of zone of uncertainty. Um, just because, and I'm laughing because I completely have been in this situation where you're like, yeah, it's a paycheck, but like this stuff is driving me crazy and it's not what I truly am wanting to do. And so, his mom is all against him following his dreams and that uncertain path of, just being a performer. But he ends up getting an opportunity to play with, I think her name was Dorothy Williams. He finally gets the gig of his dreams. One of his students actually hooks him up because the band is needing a piano accompanist for Dorothy. One of his students hooks him up with the gig, and so I always just thought that was just so precious. The student teacher relationship is so it's really almost undescribable. It's like literally like it's really like these students become like your kids. And so that relationship is very similar to a parent and a child where, you're always kind of, looking out for each other, trying to help each other grow, right? It's a two-way thing. The teacher also learns from the students just as much as the students learn from the teacher. And so the student hooks him up with, his dream gig. And so I just thought that was so good and touching. And I feel like, probably only people who are teachers will understand how touching that is. He goes there and he kills it. He's in the zone and he's just, playing along. And they really were kind of doing a lot of improv type of stuff. It wasn't really like sheet music. They were just kind of going with the flow and feeling it. And so, Dorothy's like, yes, come back tonight. You'll be our pianist, we'll see what you got, but make sure dressed to impress. And so he's like, yes, I actually, I've made it. Like, I don't have to, teach or whatever. I can actually perform, which is what I want to do because, his dad kind of, brought him into, that passion, being a musician himself. And so as he's going home, he, I guess, falls into a sewer. Like, it was just so many close calls that he misses, and then he falls into a sewer, which is like the most obvious thing that you should be able to miss. All these other things are happening, and it missed him, but then this one little step he takes him down the hole, and it's very reminiscent to life. A lot of times, we kind of put ourselves in very precarious situations with our own actions. It's not necessarily just things happening to us, but we actually do things to put ourselves in those situations. And so his soul leaves his body. And this concept of the soul leaving the body is so interesting. Just because it's kind of I think it's an experience that a lot of people have had, and then I think it's also an experience that like a lot of people try to interpret differently. So, his soul disconnects from his body and it's like, he's on his way to the ever after, like, you're gone. But he's like, no, his soul is like, no, I just got this gig. Like, I'm getting back to this gig no matter what. And so he ends up traveling to the before the beyond, where, they're developing souls in training, to enter Earth and be, children, babies. And so he enters this realm and they, make him a mentor. And he's mentoring this really, really difficult soul that really doesn't want to go to Earth, has very bad perception of Earth and will prefer to just stay in this, um, before realm. So she sabotages herself a lot of times in order to not qualify to head to Earth because they have to get all of these different it's almost like a stamp that has all these different elements to it, and so she's always missing things so that she's not qualified to go to Earth. And so he has to help her. She ends up helping him get reconnected to Earth because he's not there. And so They meet someone to help them, him find his soul, but then they both end up dropping in at the same time, and then it ends up where 22 ends up in his body, and then he ends up in the body of this cat. And this was a couple of things that the story kind of it's a good story, but it was a couple of things that just really kind of made me question, like, this is not really realistic. But it's a kid movie, so you're like, whatever. But we have to analyze these things. And one of the things that really just kind of took me out was the cat therapy that was already happening. The thing that really kind of confused me a little bit was just the passage of time. But that type of thing happens when you kind of have like this out of body experience. Like, time is, the perception of time is lost. So I can forgive that. But one of the things is that he's, in a coma, I guess, because his soul had left his body and he had fell in the sewer. And they had already kind of sent in like this cat therapist. And like, usually they don't send in those type of therapies until you've been like in a coma for a while. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, I've only been in a coma for 2 or 3 hours. They're already sending in people to do these little non-medical treatments, because it's kind of like music therapy kind of helps people. And so this cat therapy thing just kind of threw me off, because I'm like, I don't think that will be happening that soon. But it's a kids movie, so let it slide. So he gets into the wrong body, but he's like, no, I have to get to this gig. He's like, I gotta get you together, and as she's in this body, she's not qualified to be in Earth yet, so she's learning all these different things, experiencing all these different things, which go against her preconceived notions about Earth. And so as Joe is coaching her from this cat body, a couple of things happen, which is number one, he goes to get a haircut. And this is a black barber. And he has this cat like just there on his shoulder, all in his barbershop. It's just, first of all, I'm pretty sure any type of hair salon, barbershop, any really type of like business for real, unless it's, an animal clinic or like something that's specific for animals, you're not allowed to just be bringing in cats, particularly cats. Like, I know they have the service dogs, but I don't think they have service cats. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But number one, people are allergic to cats. Like, that's a really common allergy. So it's not likely that they would just be letting this man in with this cat, especially because this cat has never come to the shop with him before. And it's just like, this is not going to happen. I just don't. But it is in New York. Maybe it does. Another thing that happened is, they pass a guy on the subway who's, they call busking, or, playing music. And, it has this little case open there to put tips in. And 22, who's in Joe's body, like, just like drops this, I don't know if it was a donut or like some type of piece of bread in his case. And the dude just looks at it and keeps playing. I'm like, I feel like in New York, that would basically constitute some type of argument or fight, because like people are looking for money for tips, and then you throw in a half-eaten donut or piece of bread. Like, I mean, it's in somebody's case. You know how much these instrument cases be costing, the real nice ones, the hard ones? You just throwing food in there? Like, that would be a beat down.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
I'm telling you, like, that was not how that would happen, but, It's a kid movie. So I'm gonna let this slide again. Another thing that really was kind of bothering me before he gets to the gig, he goes in there and he's late because of all of this drama that's been happening where he's been, getting snatched from his body, put in different bodies. And Dorothy, who's the lead of this band, is like, now you're out, like you're late. And he's talking to her like, no, I'm the best thing that ever happened to you. You cannot, da, da, da. And she like, first she was like a kind of like a hard ass, like, nah, like you're out. Like she's just, whatever. If she doesn't like something, she's like, I'm getting rid of it. And so he like just comes talking smack to her, like, no, you're gonna give me this. This is my opportunity. I'm the best, whatever. And she like is just like, okay, fine. Tell the other guy he's out and Joe's in. And I just had a problem with that. Like that conversation, that was like pretty much the last straw. Like it was a lot of things that was taking me out of this story. Like, bro, you in New York? Like it would not go down like this. I refuse to believe it. Like it's not happening. And so that was the last straw. It was really the last straw. And so he, does his thing and he gets into the zone or whatever. And she's like, yeah, we're gonna do this again. And so he's just not even happy, like, oh, because he's thinking about 22, how he kind of left her in the dust. And so he's just feeling remorse and he's just, reminiscing on all these things. And he's like, he starts playing, and getting into the zone. And apparently when you're in the zone doing something, like your soul, I guess, leaves your body in this movie. And so he's back in the, this land of the souls. His soul has left his body again. And first of all, there was a guy whose soul was leaving his body. He was in the zone when he was just twirling a sign outside of a business. It was just like, bro, this is craziness. So then he goes back and he's like, she's a lost soul at that point because, he's told her that she's not good enough or whatever. She only found herself because she was in his body, blah, 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 blah. So she is like lost and just really down and out in this place. And so they find her. And I just feel like everything was just too convenient. Like even for a kiddie film, for him to leave this on, be able to find the other guy who was able to help them reconnect to the earth and stuff like that. I'm just like, this is too convenient. Everything's happening too conveniently. And so he gives her back the earth badge and says, you know what? It's yours. And so she goes to earth. He holds her hand and they jump out into earth. And of course, because he doesn't have the badge, he gets cycled back to the place where the souls are. And she goes to earth. And so conveniently, the teachers from the youth seminar, like, you know what, you did such a good job with her. We're going to give you your pass back to earth and you can be, back in your body. And so it has this happy ending. This is the same writer from Up and Inside Out. This movie really, really, really was trying to be like the black version of Inside Out. It's basically what it was. And so as I was watching it, like I was really feeling like there were a lot of things taken from Inside Out. Just, with the story and just how things were happening. But Inside Out was definitely, to me, a better movie. But this was a good film. Especially because it was the first black animated film, which is crazy. So I am going to give this film 7 out of 10. It's like about a C average. It had a good story. It had good elements. But the animation was a little. I mean, the part where they were on Earth, obviously that was Pixar, but the part where they were in the kind of like the soul world, the spiritual world, it was just a little it was just a lot left to be desired on that, which I'm sure they probably did intentionally, which is fine. But I just wasn't completely impressed with the animation. Again, there was several things that happened in the story that were just not credible as far as how they would happen in real life. It's just not. It's just not. So, but it is a kiddie movie. So I give it a 7 out of 10. I definitely recommend that you watch this film. Let me know what you guys think. I think Jamie Foxx did a good job, and I really think Joe, like like honestly, this movie might have would have been better as an actual live action film, just for the actual story. The animation was it was okay, but they really had Joe looking like Courtney B. Vance. Like when I started watching, I was like, dang, this looks just like him. So I feel like they kind of just found some pictures of some black actors and just kind of found something that looked like something that we actually already know, someone who we already know. So I think I would have liked this movie a little bit better. The story, not necessarily the movie, but just the story. I think it would have played out better for me. Obviously, because I'm not a kid, but I think we could have went a little bit deeper on some things. Definitely, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of his teaching life. We saw him at school, and then we saw one of his students, I guess, who he gives private lessons to, kind of come over there and talk. But I just feel like it was a little shallow for the runtime. This movie was it was pretty long for a kid movie. So there's that. But yeah, definitely check it out and let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time. Peace.